The Accidental Entrepreneur is brought to you with the help of our sponsor, AWeber, the world's leading small business email marketing and automation service provider. Since 1998, AWeber has helped more than 1 million small businesses and entrepreneurs through its suite of web-based email marketing, automation tools, and education. AWeber, the best option when it comes to marketing your business. The podcast is also brought to you by the Alternative Board. Since 1989, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has been one of the leading peer advisory and business coaching organizations for independent business owners and CEOs across the world. By facilitating peer advisory boards, private one-on-one coaching, and strategic planning services, TAB helps business owners improve their businesses in ways that change their lives. And be sure to connect with our affiliate sponsor, GSM Growth Agency. They're boosting e-commerce businesses to 6 and 7 figures in revenue and cover everything from ads and social media influencers to making your website better. GSM Growth Agency focuses on taking businesses from startup success to bigger success, going above and beyond to make sure growth sticks around. They're all about cool ideas, lasting partnerships, and making your mark in the e-commerce world. And be sure to support the podcast by ordering some logo merchandise from our online store. Listen to all of our sponsors' commercials later in this episode and follow their links in the show notes to learn more about their products and services.
It is a faith-based. I mean, you don't have to be a Christian to read it, but it's got a lot of tips in there about slowing down. Everyone's like, go, 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 go,
Right,
go, go.
right.
He's like,
That's what life screams at you to speed up.
Slow down.
Crazy.
So my wife and I are actually thinking about starting this week, starting to do a Sabbath. We already go to church and Bible study and all that stuff, but like, we're going to come up with our own rules.
Like a day of rest, right? That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Right. But like, we're going to come up with our own rules. And so what we're talking about is we can watch TV, but no phones, no social media, because that's our biggest thing is getting on social media. So
because you
can watch movies all day
while you're watching TV, and it's like overload. It's your brain like frying, but you don't realize it.
But if we say, hey, on our Sabbath, no phones, but we can read, play games, watch TV, that's fine, but no phones, because we are spending so much time on the phones. If you don't think you're spending a lot of time on your phone, go check your screen time. I promise you, you're spending way more time on your phone than you think you are.
Yeah, they're probably watching us on their phone right now. All right. For those of you who are tuning in to another show, I'm Mitch Beinhaker. I'm your host. Thanks for joining us. We have an exciting guest. Mark's full of energy and all kinds of cool stuff. And I know we're all procrastinators, especially as business people. So we're getting to good stuff. If you are listening on your favorite directory and you can leave us a 5-star review, please do that. If you're watching us on YouTube, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, do all the things you can do to support us so we can keep connecting with guys like Mark and bringing you great conversations. So let's get on with today's show.
Hey, this is Mark Stuczewski, better known as Mr. Productivity, and I am here to help you be more productive. Are you as productive as you want to be today? Maybe, maybe not, but I promise you on the show today, you are going to get some information. If you only get one tip, that's going to help you be more productive. Stay tuned, because here we go.
The information provided in these episodes is for entertainment purposes only. It is not a guarantee of success or to be construed as advice of any kind. You should always seek advice from local licensed professionals before making any decisions.
The dictionary defines an entrepreneur as a person who organizes and manages any enterprise, especially a business, usually with considerable initiative and risk. People often start a business without much choice, perhaps due to a job loss or just being dissatisfied at work, and they come up with an idea they just know can be successful. They become entrepreneurs by accident. That is to say, their success or failure happens by accident, not with intention. My name is Mitch Beinhaker. I'm a corporate attorney and a business advisor. You're listening to The Accidental Entrepreneur, my podcast about how to achieve success on purpose, not by accident. Join me along with our monthly guests, where we share our knowledge and help you get a hold of your business. And now on to today's episode. All right, Mark, thanks for joining me on this Friday afternoon. Where are you located, by the way? I didn't ask you that.
I'm in the very hot Houston, Texas.
It's hot down there, huh? Well, at least you don't have hurricanes coming through right now, right?
No, we had our hurricane in the beginning of the season. Hurricane Beryl knocked us for a loop, but fortunately, Helene and Milton went on the opposite direction, though. My heart does go out to those people.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining me. And we're going to get into all the productivity stuff. By the way, anybody listening, Mark has a podcast. I think he's about 1,000 episodes ahead of me. So he's been doing this a long time. You want to get tips and tricks, there's links in the show notes to his website. We're going to talk about that probably in the second half of the show. But Mark, maybe we can go back, talk about your background and history in business and, entrepreneurship and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I used to tell people it all started when I was fired from my corporate job back in July of 2005.
Okay.
And shortly after there, a coach saw something in me about how I was naturally productive and how I should share that gift with the world.
Okay.
But the more I thought about it, I'm like, how did I become so productive? And I went back and I realized I had to give credit to my late parents.
Okay.
Because I was a latchkey kid. And for those in the audience who don't know what that is, I would have a key to the house. I'd be home before my parents would.
Yeah.
And I had chores I had to do and I had homework I had to do. And before mom and dad came home, the chores better be done and done correctly.
Right.
And I better have my homework done. If they found me outside playing and these things weren't happening, let's say it would be a painful experience, and I don't mean emotionally painful.
Right. It was different times, Mark. I had the same thing. I had a key. I'd get home. My mom was I think she's in travel doing something, and my sister wasn't home yet. My dad was at work, and that's the way it was, right? We'd never do that today. It's crazy. Things have changed so much. Yeah. Okay. So, but then you started developing habits to be more productive because you had a limited amount of time and you wanted to go out and play, right? So it makes sense. I mean, you're not born productive. It doesn't happen that way. So, right. All right. So yeah, exactly. All right. But in 2005 was really where you gave up your corporate job and were like, you know what? Not doing this.
Well, I didn't give it up. It was taken from me. But I mean, now that I reflect back on it, it's kind of like Mama Bird kicking me out of the nest. I cringe to think.
Yeah.
Had I not been fired, would I still be at that job?
Maybe,
I was miserable at that job.
Right.
And I had vacation, I had perks and health insurance, but I was miserable. And was it really worth it? So
right.
I was not happy to be fired. I want to make sure everyone understands that. I was pissed to be fired.
Stressful.
But now when I look back, I'm like, oh, thank goodness I was fired.
Yeah. No, how many people are miserable and they keep their job forever? They just don't like the unknown. They'll take the crappy known for the potentially better unknown. It's kind of, it's counterintuitive, but it's what we do. And I think a lot of people during the pandemic kind of had a coming to God type of moment, right? Where they said, you know what? I am not happy. Well, why am I going back to that? And a lot of people made a lot of changes, but you didn't start the podcast then, right? So
no.
But you did start kind of the journey of kind of working with people and helping them be more productive and stuff like that back then, 2005, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
So I first became a professional wedding photographer and portrait photographer.
Okay. That makes no sense.
I will admit, I want the cool gear. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want the cool gear. And so what happened is now this is 2005.
Right. Now, what did you do before that though? What were you doing at the corporation? Anything related to photography? Not at all. Okay, good. Well, at least it's a clean break, right?
I was in inventory control management.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And so keep in mind, it's 2005. That was Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Okay.
And so I'm like, how am I going to market my business?
Right.
So you could either be on one of those three platforms, which are still wet behind the ears, or we could do email marketing, which is new, or I could do direct mail marketing.
Yeah.
But then I realized there was a lady in my Bible study class who was a speaker. And I asked her, I said, can I maybe learn how to speak so I can, my idea was to go speak to groups and build my photography business.
Right.
Now something your audience needs to understand that when I was in college and in school, I didn't want to give a report in front of the empty room. And now here I am on podcasts and I'm a speaker and all that stuff.
Yeah. Meaning you would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy, right? That was basically, got it.
Now you can't get me to shut up. So what happened was I became a speaker and I was originally speaking about photography. Well, when that business failed, I got the bug to be a speaker, but I'm like, what am I going to talk about? I have no idea.
Now, what did your friend speak about, Mark? She wasn't, it was your Bible studies class, but she wasn't talking about religion, was she?
No, her corporate job was, my goodness, I don't even remember what it was. Something about the corporate world. I don't even remember what it was.
But she was doing corporate
speaking. Okay.
Correct.
Fine.
Correct. So I invested in my first coach, and I didn't even know what a coach was.
Right.
When I first got fired, I thought a coach was like
You're
a
like a
sports
football
coach.
coach. Right. Of course.
And I was having an uncharacteristic moment. I normally identify as Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, and I was having an Eeyore moment.
Okay.
And he goes, "What's going on?" And I'm
Okay.
like, "Well, I want to speak, but I don't know what to speak about." He goes, "Well, why don't you speak about productivity?" And I remember saying to him, I'm like, "Well, that's weird. Why would you even say that?" He goes, "I know a lot of people, and you are the most naturally gifted, productive person I know. You
Yeah.
should share that gift with the world." And it just blew my mind. And then I started teaching about productivity, and now here we are in 2024.
Now you see, you it was like intuitive to you, but then you were like, well, that can't be something people want to like. Everybody must be productive, right? I mean, that's kind of how you look at it when it comes natural to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, but that's we're talking 19 years ago, right? So let's talk from the business standpoint. What do? Do you write a presentation? Do you make a PowerPoint? Do you do a little business plan in terms of, okay, what are the groups I got to get in front of? How am I going to do this? What was the whole strategy?
Well, when I first became an entrepreneur, technically a solopreneur,
Right,
I had no blanking clue what I was doing.
right, like
And
most of us.
yeah, I was hiring coaches. I was hiring, purchasing, courses, had no idea. And every course and every coach tells you to do something different.
Yeah.
And so I was basically throwing spaghetti against the wall.
Yeah.
I didn't know what this thing about a niche was. I just like, I'll just contact everybody.
Right.
I'll make content around everything. And finally I came across a coach that told me how to focus. And now I'm having even more fun than I ever had before, because now I have more clarity about what I'm doing. See, when you have clarity, life is a lot more interesting than
a lot more less stressful too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. More fun and more productive. I was talking to my friend this morning who was on the podcast. And yeah, we were talking about like, that's the ironic thing about niching down and being focused in what you do. Like, you could do a lot of things, right? But you found a very specific thing that you do, productivity, and you're known for it now. And it increases your business. You get more business from being very specific as opposed to the opposite. So people think, I got to be everything to everybody and I got to do this. I'm going to lose out if I don't do this, right? And that's just not true. It's same in law or anything else that we do. All right. So what were the first things that you did? Like, what were the first like little tools that you little package you put together? I don't know what you did, right? Obviously you didn't just walk out in the world and have a big book about productivity, right? It must have been all over the place. So, but it couldn't have been too all over the place. You were a productive guy, so it had to be organized. So what did you do? Did you start building, what do you call that? Intellectual property out of it, making books and work? I don't know. What did you do?
When I first started, it was just one-on-one coaching, because I had no clue what I was going to do.
Right.
I did make a mistake. I did invest in some person who sold me a course, and they said, you need to have a course. And so I created the course, and I didn't sell any of it because no one asked for it. And
right.
it was about a year ago that I read Noah Kagan's book, $1 Million Weekend. And I was introduced to a topic called validation. Just because people say they will buy your course or your coaching, it doesn't mean anything unless they give you your credit card. When they give you money, that's validation.
Yeah.
So I have created several products, about 3 products that I didn't do well on, because what my current coach tells me is let the marketplace tell you what they want. Because
you don't listen to what people want.
Right. So if you create a course, but then you find out all they want is to be able to access you via WhatsApp, well, then you wasted all your time creating the course when that's not what they wanted. So now I've learned to slow down and listen. And because I'm a solopreneur, I can custom design a package for anybody. Maybe you want a 15-minute coaching call as an accountability call every Monday and Friday every week. Okay. But then this other person, they want a 60-minute call once a week. So because I own the company, I can create anything I want. You want a course? I'll create a course. If you want a membership. So I'm learning to be flexible, because no 2 clients of mine have ever been the same.
Well, that's good. They call that bespoke, custom, right? So you're doing it as you go. All right. But okay, fine. But you got to have some basic parameters. Like if I come to you and I'm just not a productive person, I don't even know where to start, because I'm not a productive person. I'm not organized. I'm not focused. So what do you do?
The first thing we do is we hop on a call and we have a conversation. And I don't charge people for this. Once they once they invest in me, I give them the first call. We just sit there and find out, okay, where are you now? Where you want to go? Because
Right.
one of the things that I learned along the way is most coaches are like, I do 6 months, 2 sessions a month for 6
Right.
months.
Right.
Well, what I do is I am now going to a model where you pay me once and I work with you until you get that result. Now, some people think that's crazy, but here's the thing. You make sure you get something that's measurable. Not
Yeah.
like, I want to be more productive. I want to be less overwhelmed. I got to be able to measure it because I'm not going to coach you for 700
Right.
years.
That's
Okay.
elusive. Right. Of course.
Right. But it all starts with clarity. And I am shocked at how few people actually have clarity. They think they have clarity, but when you start talking about it, you hear
They
a
don't
lot
know.
of, I don't know, never
Right.
thought about that. So you don't have clarity. So
Right.
I can't begin helping people until we start getting that, like I used to be a photographer. So you start getting things in focus. Like,
Yeah.
oh, now I know where you want to go. And I
Right.
see the light bulbs go off in their eyes and they're like, oh, now I get it. Because most people, to your point, they go, oh, I want to be more productive, but I don't know what that means. Well, it means something different for everybody.
Right.
Now, the person that wants to write their first book, that's different than someone who wants to start a YouTube channel. That's
Right.
why that one of the things I love about my job is even though I teach everyone the same stuff, I customize it for every individual.
Right. But it's basically boils down to procrastination. Like it's different forms of procrastination, and you may do it differently and sabotage yourself different ways. But I think it is amazing how destructive we are to ourselves. Like I mean, look, there's days where don't feel like I want to be productive. I didn't sleep well last night. I'm just aggravated. I want to get some stuff. I call that like getting off the mountain. Some days you just got to climb off the mountain because you're going to fall off anyway. And, but for the most part, you always feel better at the end of the day when you're productive. Mm-hmm. But some people are just, I don't know. Maybe they work for corporations. They figure they can just keep their job. Doesn't matter. They don't care. Okay. So what are the kind of people that come to you? Like, is it a lot of solopreneurs, business owners? Is it corporate executives? Is it just, people in everyday life that feel like they can't get any shit done? Well, what do you find is the people that need help with that topic?
The industries are variety, but the core theme is people have gotten to the point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're like, okay, I get one shot at this thing life. I'm burning out. I'm miserable.
Right.
There's got to be a better way of doing things. And like I have coaches and they can see things that I can't see because I'm in the forest. I can't see the trees.
Right.
So they finally get to a point where they go, okay, this is not sustainable.
Right.
How am I going to achieve my wildest dreams, my wildest goals? And so that's what I think makes my job so interesting because I get to hear a wide spectrum of people, not just hearing from one group, even though I'm targeting like people who are in the HR field, human resources field.
Yeah.
But that's not my only client. I get other clients from other industries, which keeps me sharp. And I'll take something I learned from this industry and put it over in this industry. And I'm constantly learning that way.
And how do you connect with those people? Like, I don't think anybody says, oh, well, I need a productivity coach. They probably don't even know such thing exists.
Correct. What I do is I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and DMing people, connecting with people,
farming and trolling for people looking, connecting,
right?
Teaching
right.
them,
I reach out to them, and I'm just, and
yeah.
I'm not one of these pitchers on LinkedIn. I'm trying to first start a relationship. Like I reach out to them, send them a connection request. If they reply, 95% of people don't, and I hit them another DM once they connect with me. And then eventually we get to a point where they're like, okay, you've been giving me value, seem like a nice guy, tell me more. And I'm like, okay, let's hop on a 20-minute call. It's a coaching call. It's my gift to you.
Right.
And at that point, then we decide they want to take it further. But back in the day, like when I grew up in the, predominantly the 80s, 3 to 5 touches, and you can get a client.
Yeah,
nowadays
like
with social
17.
media, it's 17. I've heard
Ridiculous.
50. It's so you got to keep reaching out to people, but you can't pitch. It's about building that relationship. Right. And that's why we've all got the pitches. You connect with someone on LinkedIn and you get a pitch. First thing I do is I block you.
Me
because
too.
That's not how to start a relationship.
No, absolutely not. And you know what? A lot of it is about being there. Like I've said to people, why did you call me versus another attorney? Well, you were there. I've been getting stuff from you every week for whatever. And I thought of you. So you want to be top of mind. I got to introduce you to somebody though. There's you two might be the entire industry of productivity. There was a woman on my podcast. It was Barbara Hemphill. She wrote a book called Taming the Paper Tiger. You know, Barbara?
She was a guest on my podcast.
There you perfect. Yeah. So you guys are like two peas in a pod, probably, right? She deals with all the paper stuff. You deal with all probably the head trauma that people are going through with, right? With productivity. Yeah, absolutely. So, and I know we're going to get into like tips and tricks and all kind, and not tricks is the wrong word, but tips and advice. We're going to get into advice, right? So, and we'll talk about your podcast and all that stuff's been going on. But if you go back and look at how you've built your business, right? People don't work with you forever, I would think, right? There's a life cycle to a client. So, what's the business plan? You found a way to connect with people. You're doing a lot through LinkedIn and stuff like that. Maybe you're speaking and stuff. So then they come on board. How do you like kind of get off that hamster wheel of always having to, I always wonder about this because all coaches, right? Very few people have, maybe people have therapists all their life, but they probably shouldn't, right? The goal is to get off of therapy. So yeah. So how do you deal with that hamster wheel of always having to replace the ones that you're fixing?
That's a very good question.
Maybe you don't feel it. Maybe you don't feel it like I'm thinking you do. I don't know.
Well, no, it's a good question. And I love this because you're thinking outside the box. And I don't like getting the same questions all the time. For me, I like when a client gets to the point where they no longer need me.
Right.
But if I have a client, which is rare,
yeah,
very rare, who is on the other side and they're just not doing the work, I'm just like, I can't work with you anymore.
Right. It's too frustrating for you.
It's an energy drain on me because you're not doing anything, especially now with the way I coach people. I'm like, you pay one fee, I work with you until you get your results.
Right. If you're not doing the work, then you're just wasting your time. And you don't need somebody who's more aggravating to you than it is for the person who's supposed to be helping.
Right. And so these people, because I have that expectation, you pay once and I work with you till you get your result, I nail down what does that look like for you. And if you're just a lazy client, well, we can't even start that coaching relationship because you can't even nail down. I want to, like weight loss, for example, I weigh 300. I want to get to 200. Now we can monitor our progress. But if you go, well, I just want to be more productive, I'm not going to take you on as a client because you don't have clarity.
Right.
I need to know, am I moving closer? Because like I said earlier, I'm not going to coach you for 5 years.
Right.
The whole point is, you pay once, I work with you to get results, but I want that to be like within a few months.
Measurable benchmarks, years. Right. Exactly. If not, you can't work with somebody forever. You're going to go out of business yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Okay, so why don't we do that then? Why don't you tell me like the things that you do to be more productive, and then what I'm going to do is think: do I do those things, or do I do things that are not productive? Because I'll be honest with you, Mark. I'm a pretty organized person. I'm a list maker. If you tell me something, I'll put it on my calendar as a reminder. I don't like to walk around with a lot of shit in my head. My office, although there's some paperwork here, like right now, that makes me nuts. So usually I like things to all be stacked up. When I was younger, like in college, you could go to my room, move something around, and I'd walk in and go, wait, something's wrong here. And I'd look around and be like, oh, you moved my shoe over here. Like, put that back. Not to the point where, I understand abnormal psych, right? It gets to an extreme where you're dysfunctional and you need help, but I'm not at that level. But so what kind of things do you do to be more productive?
The first thing I do is take care of myself. So I'm 59 years young.
Okay.
I feel like I'm in my low 40s.
Yeah,
so I wake up between 4:30 and 5:30. And what I do, the first thing I do when I wake up is, because the sun's not awake at that point, I have a vitamin D lamp. I stand in front of that for 10 minutes. Then I do a single proper push-up. And I say proper push-up. It's not a cheating one. It's like
just
a military one. Well, when you do a proper push-up, it's harder than you think it. If you're cheating, like you're using your knees or stuff like that, it's more difficult.
Right. Now, especially 4 o'clock in the morning, you're asleep. Right. So,
well, remember, I do one. I haven't done them in a while, so I'm not gonna push my body. Then I do a squat for 4 minutes because I read a book called Built to Move. And as we get older, we become sedentary and our hip flexors get shot. So the squatting for like you see a little kid when they squat, their butt almost hits the ground. Most
Right.
adults go squatting.
Can't do it.
No, I can't do it. So after that, I do farmer's carries in my house for about 7 minutes. And
Okay.
then I do this weird thing that people don't understand is I actually read while walking in my house up and down the hallway. Now, this is all priming me for the day. And then I write in my journal.
You're intense.
And then as soon as the sun comes up, the first
Right.
light, I go out for my daily run. I've been running every day since August 29, 2017. Come back and take a cold shower. That's just to prepare me for the day.
Yeah,
But
that's just
throughout
exercise, get your blood flowing. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
So
all right.
throughout the day, I will not work wall to wall. So if I have a podcast interview, say at 10,
Yeah.
I will not do anything that takes a lot of brain power afterwards. For me, high energy, take a break. High
Yeah.
energy, take a break.
Yeah.
I know some people, I work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Great, good for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
No, me neither.
So I am one of these people where, like, I'm a big European football fan. We call it soccer in the States. If my team's playing in the afternoon, I will work up to game time and I'll watch the game. And people go, well, how's that being productive, Mr. Productivity? I'm like, because football brings me joy.
Right.
So I work really hard up until 2:00. I normally stop working at 4 anyway, so it's only a couple hours. But I think being joyful is also a productivity hack that people dismiss. They
Yeah.
think they got to be nose the grindstone and keep working. No, put a smile on your face, smile,
Right.
enjoy life. Happy people, healthy people are more productive people.
Yeah, no question about it. If you hate what you do, you're not going to be productive, right? I'm sure you were real productive at the job you had that you hated, right? You probably weren't because you're like, I don't even like this. What the hell am I?
I was watching the clock. Of
Of course.
And I'm like, oh, what time is it? Oh, still got 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours. I hated that job. I
Right.
literally hated it. So that's some of what I do. The other things I do is I'm a big planner. I always tell my time
Yeah.
where to go instead of wondering where it went. A lot of people go, yeah. I keep
Wait,
it in
say
my
that
head.
again.
No.
I like that. I like that statement. What'd you say? I tell
your time where to go instead of wondering where it went.
I like that.
I've been saying that for years.
That's a
and
Marxism.
That or a Mr. Productivity.
Mr. Productivityism.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
that's really important. And I tell people, even on your days off, let's
Yes.
say you observe the Sabbath. Well,
Yes.
on Saturday, you say, tomorrow I'm going to observe the Sabbath. Live intentionally. If you're going to go to your friend's house to watch the ball game, do it intentionally. A lot of people are just like, well, whatever happens, happens. And then they wonder why I don't get anything done.
Right.
Be intentional. So I'm big on that. I use to-do lists. I use a calendar.
Right.
I love
Reminders.
print planners. I
Okay.
love.
Oh, you like
you know,
printed planners? You don't like electronic?
No, because I'm a big person on privacy. So plus I think we're spending too much time behind our screens. And so I like journaling.
That is an understatement. Like
Yes.
tomorrow.
Well, see, I have a really nice leather-bound journal. I like writing my journal every day.
A moleskin?
And there's something about writing with a pen on a piece of paper.
Yeah, you
I
like
get clarity.
the intention of it, writing, the tactileness of it. Was it a moleskin? Is it a moleskin planner or no?
No, I'm not a moleskin guy. There's an author I really like named Robin Sharma.
Okay.
And he recommended a company out of Maine called Gallery Leather. And I purchased their journals. The paper's phenomenal. They're lifetime warranty, leather bound. They're like $40 each. I love this company. And so I also buy my planner with them. Now I do plan. I use Proton Calendar, but I do plan, but I actually have a printed planner because when I'm on my LinkedIn 2 to 3 hours a day, I write down how many DMs I'm sending, how many connection requests I'm sending. I write all that stuff down.
No, you track everything.
Oh, I think you have to track it because if you say, well, how'd you do this week?
Can't measure, right.
But if I can say I sent this many connection requests, this many DMs, I'm going to know. So I think people need to track more.
Yeah, because you know what? That leads to results. It just does. Activity leads to results. If you call enough people and you reach out to enough people, connect with them, you're going to hit somebody that you've been keeping in touch with who's just fed up with the fact that they can't get anything done. Now they're like, Mark, you're my man. I want to go forward with you because they trust you. Now have you heard of a Remarkable? So Remarkable is, what the hell I did with it. I'm giving them like a free commercial. It is an electronic tablet, but it writes like paper. It doesn't write like a tablet. Yeah. And I love it. And I keep everything electronic and it's very easy to write on. Like if you write, you can't write it on an iPad like that. So that's a little thing that I like. I've shown some clients that they're like, I love this. And they'll go out and buy it. But
well, I got a good friend of mine who says I have sloppy handwriting. So he writes on his iPad and then it fixes it for him. I'm
Right.
like, dude,
You could do that.
slow down. See,
Right.
what I do when I write, I print in my journal. So you could pick up my journal and be able to read everything because I could write cursive,
Yeah.
but I print
I
because
print
it
also.
slows me
Yeah.
down. And when you slow down, you actually can think better. So
Yeah.
everybody's in a hurry. I just read a book called what is it called? The Endless Pursuit of, hang on. I know this is, sorry about that. That was really unprofessional, but I just finished reading this book.
I like it. The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Wait, I got to write that one down. Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Okay. Is that on, can I get it on Audible? I love to listen to books.
I don't know. I'm going back to print books because again, they're not electronic and I stay off the internet.
Right.
It is a faith-based. I mean, you don't have to be a Christian to read it, but it's got a lot of tips in there about slowing down. Everyone's like, go, 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 go,
Right,
go, go. And
right.
he's like,
That's the life screams at you to
slow down.
speed up.
Slow down.
Crazy.
So my wife and I are actually thinking about starting this week, starting to do a Sabbath. We already go to church and Bible study and all that stuff, but like, we're going to come up with our own rules.
Like a day of rest, right? That's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Right. But like, we're going to come up with our own rules. And so what we're talking about is we can watch TV, but no phones, no social media, because that's our biggest thing. It's getting on social media. So
because you
we
sit
can watch
there
movies all day
while you're watching TV and it's like overload. It's your brain like frying. But you don't realize it.
But if we say, hey, on our Sabbath, no phones, but we can read, play games, watch TV, that's fine, but no phones, because we are spending so much time on the phones. If you don't think you're spending a lot of time on your phone, go check your screen time. I promise you're spending way more time on your phone than you think you are.
Yeah, they're probably watching us on their phone right now. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and you know what? The whole thing, I mean, this is a whole nother philosophical discussion, right? We could do on your podcast. The whole thing is they're trying to get you to stay on your phone. They want to keep you focused because that's how they make money and, whatever. They want to, keep you engaged, and we're all getting sucked into it. Now, I find, what'd you say? No,
you bring up a very good point. So a little inside podcast for the listener. When we started recording, all of a sudden you couldn't hear my mic. That's because I was connecting with you through the Brave browser, and Riverside FM had 40 trackers. So I'm like on this privacy kick.
Yeah.
So I have a VPN on my computer all the time. I have all this stuff because I use Proton Mail, Proton Calendar, Proton VPN.
I didn't even know Proton Mail still existed. Wasn't that like CompuServe originally?
Oh no, Proton is out of Switzerland and everything's encrypted and it's so tight over there. The government won't even let people to get subpoenas into your records.
Right. Well,
because I'm tired of being tracked everywhere.
That's why you hide your money there.
Well, I don't have that kind of money like you do. I'm not a billionaire like you. You're friends with Elon Musk.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Exactly right.
I know you're a co-owner of X. I know,
of course, right.
But seriously, so what I try to do is for example, I remarked to you, Riverside had 40 trackers. I'm like, Google doesn't have that many trackers. What are they tracking? But they're tracking everything. Right. And what happens is this is why they use that information to keep you on the platform. And then plus they sell it to other people, to social media sites. And so I'm trying to do what I can. Obviously, total privacy is not a thing unless you're going to be like Walden or Henry David Thoreau and go out to the wilderness, completely offline. Right. You're going to have privacy issues, but I think you should do what you can. And if you stay off social media, you go outside without your phone, they can't track you. Okay. That's why I like reading print books. I do buy some Kindle books. I do listen to audiobooks, but the books I really want to read over and over again. And I want to keep in case like that alleged EMP from North Korea that keeps flying over Nebraska. If that ever goes off, I got print books to read on because the computers will be all fried. So not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying there's something about a book and I love smelling the book.
So, no, I understand. Yeah. I understand. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast, a fictional podcast, and they went through this thing called the Great Deletion. And what had happened was the cloud systems and the AI systems started to delete data. Like let's say you use this AI device, right? That would delete your data that's old that you don't need anymore, right? Because it was so much cloud-based stuff. You're
Mm-hmm.
paying for it all the time. So you get this app, it starts deleting. Well, the AI in the app started making the assumption that, well, if you don't need this data, you probably don't need this data because it's related, and it all got deleted. It was all gone. So they were back to like hardcover books, and you had to make real phone calls, and it was all, and nobody wanted to use things. It could happen. Now we're talking about productivity, right? You read the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, right?
Oh yeah.
Everybody has, right? I think that if you made it your business to like work from like, let's say 10 to 2 every day, you would get more done in that 20 hours than you would knowing that you had 40 to 50 to 60 hours to work. Because I think we just, right? Isn't that the rule, the Murphy's Law? We just stretch it out to make it to the end. We feel like,
I believe it's called Parkinson's rule. Is
that what it is?
It expands.
Right. It is Parkinson's rule.
Yeah. So listen, I tell people we are in a time where, remember when Facebook goes down or Instagram goes down, people panic. Oh, right. It's down. People panic. Well, guess what? My book never needs power. Right. It's always there. So AWS has gone down. Listen, it's technology. It is going to go down.
Right.
And I think it's funny if you see funny when Instagram goes down or WhatsApp goes down, go to X and you'll see trending Instagram down. And all these people are panicking because Instagram's down. What kind of world are we in? That's not being very productive when you're freaking out because Instagram's down.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a few minute commercial break so the people that I mentioned at the beginning of the show can get a little bit more in because they are paying me a tiny little bit of money, and then we can come back and talk more about productivity and hacks and what you think people do wrong and right and things you see. And does that all make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do that. Here's a word from our sponsors. Looking to market and grow your business, or perhaps you're just getting started and want to hit the ground running? AWeber is the best choice for online email marketing and automation of your business. From maintaining a subscriber list to drip campaigns and landing pages, AWeber gives you tools and integrations that make marketing easy and fun. As our partner and sponsor, we use all their tools to promote the podcast and market our law firm. AWeber, the best alternative for online marketing. For over 30 years, the Alternative Board, or TAB, has built a thriving community of forward-thinking CEOs and business owners who want to radically improve their companies. Through unique combinations of one-on-one business coaching, participation in monthly TAB board meetings with other non-competing owners, a suite of strategic tools and customized strategic planning workshops, TAB membership can deliver greater strength to your business and a better work-life balance for you and your family. All packaged in a streamlined and affordable service that the people at TAB invite you to try risk-free. Are you struggling with managing advertising due to a lack of time or expertise? Perhaps you're facing challenges in scaling ads for your store. Are you feeling lost when strategies have no success? GSM Growth Agency is your reliable partner in overcoming these business challenges. Feel the impact of collaborating with a team dedicated not only to short-term goals, but also to building long-term partnerships and achieving sustained success. Embark on an exciting journey to redefine the possibilities of e-commerce and create a legacy of unparalleled excellence. Take decisive action now. Follow their link in the show notes to receive a complimentary audit of your Shopify store conducted by a GSM expert. Propel your e-commerce game to new heights with GSM Growth Agency. Follow the link in the show notes to learn more about all of our sponsors. And now back to our show. All right, Mark. What was I going to say? I'm big on using like systems for my business. I mean, I have a paralegal who helps me with certain things. She's remote. I have a VA she's in the Philippines, definitely remote. And I used to have a firm with like partners and I just got rid of it, and I like keep my life simple and manage it like that. So what kind of, I know about the mental part of it that you're saying in terms of, take good care of yourself, and because you can't be productive if you're not healthy, to clear and get clarity. But what kind of things do you see or do you help people do in terms of, since this is a business podcast, about, making their businesses more productive?
Well, I mentioned clarity beginning of the show, and before I can give them specific tools, I have to figure out where are their needs.
Right.
So one person may say, okay, I need to manage projects. Another person may say, I'm going to write a book, which is sort of a project. So this goes back to a recurring theme on the show is that there's no one set of tools. I have to figure out, like for example, my wife and I are empty nesters and we have 2 dogs. So way I run my business as a solopreneur, a little bit different than if you're running like say a law firm or a big corporation.
Of course.
So when people ask me, because you said something earlier, which was interesting. People don't know what they don't know. They come and they're like, hey, what is going on? I feel overwhelmed, but what should I be doing?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, let's zoom out. Let's pause. Let's zoom out and figure out what do you need to be done? What's your first priority, second priority, third priority? Because once you tell me these things, then go, okay, well, have you tried this? How about this? Why? And sometimes I ask people, why are you doing this? Yeah. And I'm shocked the number of people go, well, I don't know. That's the way I was taught. So when people ask me, well, what is your favorite calendar app? What is your favorite to-do list?
Yeah,
app?
you must get those questions all the time, right?
All the time. And I did mention I use Proton Calendar mainly because it's privacy-based, and encrypted. But I tell people, have you tried using what's already on your device? And there's this opinion out there that just because they came with your phone or your computer, that they're crap. Right. Well, have you tried them?
Yeah.
Most people say, well, no. Well, here's an idea. Instead of wasting your time, also known as procrastination, why don't you try what you already have? Right. You're like, that's a great idea. Well, thank you. But it's so simple. Everybody thinks that they're going to look for that perfect app. Yeah. Well, it doesn't exist. Right. Okay. What I use may not work for you. Well, and so I don't like being nailed down. Like, what do you use or what do you recommend? Because I don't know you. Now, after a phone call, or a Zoom call, then I can say, okay, what I would recommend for you is A, B, and C. But it's hard on the podcast to give answers like that.
Okay, fine. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I've just thought maybe I would steal some jewels of knowledge and be like, you know what? I never thought about that.
Well, I used to do stuff like that. And then what happens, and I get emails from people go, hey, I tried it. It didn't work for me. I'm like, well, are you a thus and such? Oh, no, I'm over here. Oh, well, that's why. So then that's why I stopped giving those, because I got to know who you are. Now, if you told me specifically, then I'd be able to say, oh, for you, here's my recommendation. But then someone in the audience may hear, I'm like, well, I'm sort of like Mitch. Maybe it'll work for me, but it may not work for you.
Yeah, I'm the guy who like writes down all the apps you mentioned and writes down all the books you talk about. And then I go back to the meeting. I'll be like, Mark, I read that book. It was really great. And you're like, what book? Like, I would go to these meetings and people would, what's the word? They wouldn't even like, excuse me. That's like a live show. They wouldn't even like take the time to listen to other people's, and maybe it doesn't apply to them. Maybe it does apply to them. Right. But like, you're big on mentioning books. I love that because there's so much really good stuff out there in terms of, building a business. My favorite book in the world is something called, I can't remember it now. Oh, The Referral of a Lifetime. It's all about like building a keep in touch program and supporting your customers and staying in touch with them and figuring out what they need and, being top of mind type of a thing. It's the parable, whatever. But I always, find things from people that, maybe it does. And I do understand your point. Like, I never give legal advice to groups because I never want somebody to come up to me and say, Mitch, I heard that you said this and then I did it and it didn't work, or I got in trouble, or I got arrested. Be like, well, why would you do that? You heard my disclaimer at the beginning of this thing. People's like, you don't need a disclaimer. I'm a lawyer. I need a disclaimer. I don't sleep at night without.
Maybe I should have a disclaimer on my show.
Maybe, but you don't live in my shoes. Like, I have friends who are criminal attorneys. I don't do that kind of law. They think everybody's a criminal because that's who they deal with. They go, yeah, but he's probably, I'm sure he's breaking the law somehow. What do you mean? You just met Mark. Why would you say that about him? Because everybody's breaking the law. I'm like, no, it's just everyone you meet's breaking the law. Right. So you get a lot of that stuff. Exactly. So, tell me about the show, like the podcast, and, why you started it and what kind of people come on the show and, what's going on. Cause you've got a lot of episodes. Most podcasts are 10, 20 episodes. They fizzle out. I'm in a very small minority having 300 some on 1,200, 1,300 is a lot.
Yeah. So in the spring of 2017, I happened to catch a video from Gary Vaynerchuk where he said the future is voice and audio. Right. And everyone needs to have a podcast. I'm like, okay. Right. Can I have a podcast? So I went to Google and typed those fateful words. How do I start a podcast? Yeah. And I launched it on July 7th, 2017. Okay. And I think part of the reason why it was so natural to me, I used to be an on-air radio DJ in the past. So the
Oh,
number one
there you
comment I
go.
get on my show is like, "Oh my gosh, I love your voice." I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, I've been doing this for a while." So I got over 1,300 episodes, and the
Okay.
reason why is because right before Christmas 2020, I decided I was going to be Gary Vaynerchuk and churn out an episode every day for a year. I
That's what he
made it
did?
until
He did
October
that?
2021.
He did that where he churned
Well,
it
he's
out?
got a team of 15 people. I don't have anybody.
Right.
And so I started doing it, and I was doing it. And then what happens is my guest named Mitch got sick and couldn't show up. Well, then I
Right.
had to stop what I was doing to create an episode. I made it until the second week of October 2021.
From January 1st?
No, from right before the December 24th, 2020 until the second week of October 2021.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's why I had 1,300 episodes. And what happened was I
yeah.
got lazy in that summer, like around June, July, August, because I'm like, it was getting exhausting to find guests. I was doing 6-7 interviews a week.
Yeah, I
And
was
so
doing that during pandemic too. It's
if
too
you
much.
could talk, you could be on my
Right.
show. And so now I only do one interview. I do 2 interviews a week. I only release 1 episode a week.
That's
It's
funny.
a
I do
video.
the
It's a
same
video
thing.
podcast.
Yeah.
It's a video podcast.
Video only?
I switched from Libsyn to Spotify for podcasts because I found out that's the only way you could be on video on Spotify. And plus, it's free. And
Oh.
so I release it on Spotify. Spotify sends it to everybody else. And then I put the video up on YouTube. But my main platform is Spotify. I mean, that's where most of my listens come to now. It used to be Apple Podcasts for years. Now
Yeah.
it's Spotify.
Yeah, I'm
And-
listening on Spotify too.
And I'm one of these guys, I don't overthink it. You know, I show up in my t-shirt. I tell my guests, listen, just show up and have fun.
Right.
I can tell you when I used to be really professorial, I didn't do well. When I just started saying, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know, if you make a mistake, you know, it's an outrageous mistake. If you say something wrong, I'll edit it out. But
Yeah.
I want it to be fun.
Right.
I don't monetize my podcast with ads intentionally. It's a
Yeah.
decision I made from day one. I want people to go to my website. So I don't monetize. Now, if you want to monetize it, good for you. That's
I
your
don't really
decision. It's your
monetize it. I
podcast.
just got some people that support me and I support them and
Right.
it helps with our costs.
Right. I get asked, can I advertise in your show? I say no, because I've committed to myself
Yeah.
from day one I would be ad free. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people monetize. Here's the thing: when it's your show, you can do whatever you want to do. I
Of course.
respect that. No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah.
And in answer to your question about
Yeah.
who I have in my show,
Yeah.
I'm not looking for productivity experts. I'm looking for people who are productive. There's a
Okay.
difference there.
Yeah.
So you could be a CEO and you come on the show and share how you stay productive with this team. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the people I'm looking for. I don't want to have someone like Tim Ferriss on my show.
Right.
If they're just going to say the same thing I've been saying, I want to know how you specifically are productive throughout the day.
Interesting. But you've been able to find, it's funny. I had the same experience during pandemic. I was like recording like 6-7 shows a week. I was burning me out. Then I said, well, I can't even practice law. I'm so busy. So I moved them to Fridays only. And I do the same thing. 2 episodes recorded, 1 released. And yeah, I don't do it. I didn't realize that if you're on Spotify, you can release the video there. I do it on YouTube with the video and I put the audio on Spotify, Amazon, Apple, and all that kind of stuff. But you're right. Very early on, I realized that if you're going to be productive with podcasting, you have to have a way that you do the episode. Because I also don't have a huge staff. I have one VA that helps me, and I just brought her on in May. Up until that, I was doing it myself. One way I do it absolutely every single time with a schedule and how I go like a checklist, and I follow the checklist, and the episode's ready to go. And I got good at it. And she does it better than me now, anyway.
What's interesting is
yeah,
I have shortened my intro so much because I looked at data.
yeah,
And now I just basically come on and I say, hey, welcome to Mr. Productivity Podcast. Today we're talking to Mitch. Do 1 to 2 sentences within 12 seconds in the episode, because I found that people were skipping it. And so
Right, they
people have like
probably do.
long intros.
yeah.
Nobody's listening to those. So I just go right to the meat. And then at the end, we give our website. That's what I found works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have advertisers, you can do whatever you want to do. But I tell people, if it's your show, do it however you want to do it. Listen to what other people are doing and say, oh, well, yeah or no, and make your own decision. But I don't, because it's just me and my wife. She does all my editing. I don't worry about anything on the outside. It's my show. So
Yeah,
people go,
absolutely.
well, why don't you have a cool intro like it's a Mr. Productivity? I don't want it because it doesn't work.
That.
It sounds cool the first time people hear it, but after that,
FM Studios.
right. And then after, if you have regular listeners, after
Yeah.
the second, third time, they're hitting skip because like, yeah, I've already heard that. It's not exciting anymore.
Right. You're right. No, you're right. That's probably a good point. But yeah, I figured if I put the disclaimer and you skip it, then that's your problem, and I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, you could play this thing. You could play all kinds of stuff. You could play like where is it? This one's a good one. Here we go. There you go. See, you can do all that kind of stuff. But and the funny thing, I have some of this opening music because I had a guy in the podcast who, and I'm catching up with him next week. Who's he writes music for people and for businesses and stuff. I said, would you do an opening for the show? And he's like, sure. So he did it, and I got to play it. And I mentioned him at the end of the show or the beginning. I don't forget when, and in the show notes. And yeah, so you just build it the way you want to. But look, it's like anything else, right? If you want to do content, if you want to be productive in business, you have to build your systems so so it works for you, because if not, you're going to burn out. You're like, people can't be productive all the time, be consistent if it's too hard. I don't know if
you're human. You're human. You cannot be nobody. I don't care if you're Tony Robbins or Tim Ferriss. Right? You can't be productive every waking moment of the day.
No, you fall off the horse sometimes. And some days you need off, like you said. Some days you need a day of rest.
Yeah,
and whatever. And I think a lot of people don't. I think people think, you can tell me whether you disagree or not, if I'm correct, that entrepreneurship, like starting your own company, is this exercise where you have to work 80 hours overnight, programming, writing things, getting this business plan together. You're going to work so hard because it's going to be successful. And then you never get anywhere because you worked so hard that you can't even think straight. That, these movie images of starting a business, you're going to do it 24 hours a day. The attorney goes home and drafts a 800-page brief overnight. Like, that does not happen. If you ever watch Suits, do you ever see that show, Suits?
Yep.
Yeah. None of that happens in the legal world. Nobody goes home and comes back with 400-page brief that they filed overnight and they subpoenaed this person. It doesn't happen that way. It goes slowly. And and people, that's the image that we have and everything.
Well, I love when people tell me on LinkedIn DM, like, oh, I'm already really, really productive. Okay. Well, certainly you're struggling. Nope. I'm always productive. Bull crap. You are not productive ever. You are not. I don't care who you are. You have days when you don't get crap done. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right. And you know what? Human. Some days, if it's intentional, is okay. Mm-hmm. Like, you shouldn't feel guilty about taking a day off to let your brain, rebuild and so forth. But don't just do it because you just can't, you burned yourself out. Like, that's not going to lead to productivity. 100%. Yeah. 100%. So how many people are you coaching at any one particular time? Like, what's your capacity? Obviously, is your choice, right? So how many engagements do you take on at once?
Right now, I'm going through a rebirth, I guess you could say. So I stopped doing one thing. I haven't officially launched the new way. Mm-hmm. So technically right now I have 0 clients because I'm in the transition period right now.
Oh, interesting.
Because I didn't like what I was doing before.
Okay.
And because it was more of a dread. And I'm like, okay, I'm one of these people. I'm not going to gradually switch over. I'm like, cut it off and I'm done. Didn't let anybody renew. And now I'm trying to figure out, by listening to the marketplace, what do they want?
Right.
Okay. Not what the program everybody else does, 2 coaching calls a month for 6 months. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. So right now I'm in the, investigative portion.
You're kind of, what's the word? You're reinventing yourself.
Right. And so this may last a month. It may last 4 months. I'm not rushing it because, again, the book, Stop Hurrying. I'm slowing down and figuring out what is going to bring me joy. Because if I'm not joyful, I'm not going to be able to serve my clients. So a lot of people were like, well, I want to change things, like all these clients, and they're miserable. Instead of pressing pause, now obviously you got to pay the rent, or the mortgage, and feed the family.
Still be happy doing it,
but you've got to slow down. And so it's going to be interesting to see how long this period lasts, because I'm not trying to hurry. My mistake in the past was rushing to get the course done, rushing to start the membership, rushing.
Right,
now I'm
right.
like, let me slow down.
It's a marathon.
I don't know how long it's going to take.
Right. But it's still productivity, right? You're still Mr. Productivity. That's your focus, helping people be more productive and happier in their lives versus being miserable and not doing anything. Basically, those are the two
choices. And if someone reaches out to me, they go to my website and reach out. We still get on the call. And then if they say, well, I want this and this, I'll create the program on the fly. Right now, though, I think I'll better serve my client if I take some time to really figure out where I want to go. Because I want to be different. I don't want to be another productivity coach. Right. I want to be, he does this differently. And that takes time. You can't come up with that in a second. Or like you said about the TV shows, like every crime is solved in 42 minutes. Right. It's not reality. So I want to make sure I'm best serving my clients. And right now it's time for me to slow down. I still get people calling in and we still get on calls, and we'll see if they want to go to take the next level. But I'm not in a hurry. I'm not desperate or something like that, because people can smell desperation.
That's true when it comes to sales and stuff. And you don't have no reason to be desperate. So but you are still available to interact with and so forth. So you're on LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
Right. People can go to your website, which is MrProductivity.com.
Yeah. Make sure you spell it out, Mr. Mister. And if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see two links. You'll see the link to LinkedIn. Okay. Because Mark Struczewski, good luck. So just go to my website, scroll to the bottom. The other platform if you want to see behind the scenes, it's not Facebook, it's not TikTok, it's not Instagram, it's Snapchat. Yes, I'm 59 years old. I'm on Snapchat. I've got a lot of followers on Snapchat, but I share behind the scenes stuff only on Snapchat. And I've got people who are professionals who have come over to Snapchat and this is a cool platform. There's no groups. You can't go live. It's no threat.
And the stuff disappears after a while, right? It doesn't stay there forever.
Exactly.
Got it. Very nice. So you can do that. And I did go to your website. I saw you can sign up for your mailing list. You get some free gifts. You get in touch with some people and learn about whatever's going on. So, all right. So we'll have to check back in with you in 4 months or so and see where you've gotten with this whole thing. But in the meantime, anybody's listening who feels that they are not productive and would like to get more productive and can't do it themselves, which is probably true for most people, reach out to Mark. Links will be in the show notes. And, I thank you spending, 55 plus minutes with me on a Friday afternoon.
Well, it's my pleasure. And I love the conversation we had. It wasn't forced. It was just, when I had to go off camera to get my book, it's real life. This is what really happens. I hate those podcasts that are so super polished. It's like, I'm not watching or listening to a highly ranked, blockbuster movie. I want to see, Mitch sneezing on camera.
Yeah, although I would edit the first, I think.
I would edit that out because my wife would be horrified.
I'm going to leave that to the VA. Micah can handle that. I'm not going to worry.
My biggest problem is, and you were lucky on this show, is I love my Diet Coke, but only from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay. And so if I have too much Diet Coke and I have a 1 o'clock interview on my own podcast, I have to say, I let the guest finish. I'm like, okay, I have to take a pee break right now.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't cut myself off from Diet Coke early enough. So I will do that on my own podcast. I would never do that on someone else's podcast because it's my show. What are they going to do? It's my show.
I've had guests where they're like, they get off camera and they're talking to somebody over there in the middle. And I'm sitting there like, I guess I'm going to edit this out. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's weird. I would never do that. That's weird.
Well, I appreciate it, Mark. All right, stick around and we'll get to the credits. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Accidental Entrepreneur. Opening and closing music written and performed by Howie Moskovich and made to order music. For information about Howie and his music services, please follow the link in our show notes. If you like the podcast, please tell others about us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most of the other podcast directories. If you like what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review and feel free to share our episodes on social media. If you have any questions or comments, ideas for the show, or you'd even like to appear as a guest, reach out to us by email at info@beinhakerlaw.com.
The Accidental Entrepreneur is hosted by Mitch Beinhaker and produced by Beinhaker Law. If you'd like to learn more about our business and legal services, you can find us on social media or visit our website at beinhakerlaw.com. Thanks for listening, and be sure to subscribe to our feed to be notified of all future episodes.